Lee likes music. I'm Lee. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're gonna do. I'm actually doing my first album review here on my channel. It's an album review of Skeleton Tree, an album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It's kind of a new album. It came out a couple of months ago, I think. And I was in this. I'm gonna tell you a story first. I was in a record store the other day, and I bought these 3 albums, some really great albums that I know from before. And then I wanted to buy a new LP. I wanted to listen to something new that I've never listened to before. And I asked the girl behind the counter, "Hey, do you have something that you could recommend?" She said, "Hey, have you heard about this new Nick Cave album? That's a great record." And I was like, "No, never heard ever. I've never ever listened to Nick Cave's music before." And here we are. I've been listening to it been running through the album maybe 5 or 6 times, I think. And this is the impression that I got from it. It's a very, very dark, twisted, sometimes even apocalyptic album. It has very dark tunes. It's filled with sorrow. It's filled with a lot of pain. And the girl behind the counter said that, yeah, it's a very, very subtle and dark record. And the reason why it is like that is because Nick Cave tragically lost his son before making this album, or he lost his son in the middle of making the record. I'm not sure. At least it impacted the record in somewhat of a way, which makes it kind of a manifestation, I guess, of his pain that he felt for his lost son. It is really, really a dark and emotionally loaded record. That is the first impression that I got from it. You know, it has some very straightforward tracks. There's a lot of straightforward tracks, such as I Need You, for example. You can hear Nick's vocals on this track it's very filled with sorrow. It's almost like he's on the verge of crying. But yeah, as I told you, there's some very straight songs that have a very familiar build-up. Some of these songs are I Need You, A Distant Sky, and Skeleton Tree, which are the last 3 tracks of the record. Some of the songs have very little melody on some of the tracks. Nick Cave is not singing at all. He's basically, the only thing that he's doing is speaking. He's doing spoken word instead of singing, and I love that combination. I think it was, on what track is it? Girl in Amber, the 3rd track, or maybe it's in the 2nd track, Rings of Saturn. He is basically, throughout the whole song, he's basically just talking. And that makes me, I wanted to listen more to what he was saying. The first picture that I got in my mind when after I listened to that track was, I wanna listen more. It's almost like an old man telling stories from when he was younger. But the thing is, if you read the tracks, if you read the lyrics of the different tracks, some of the lyrics are very straightforward, very descriptive. Songs like the last one, for example, Skeleton Tree. He describes this skittering TV. He describes the skeleton tree, a tree without leaves. He describes a window, a candle. He describes this person out there which is no longer there, possibly referring to his son. I'm not sure. Yeah, and there's also like lyrics in the song. For example, Girl in Amber, at the end of that song, he just talks about, he talks in pictures. He doesn't depict anything particular. He is just he's scrambling images from real life with images from fantasy, describing a girl like a jellyfish. It was just so surreal, some of these songs are very dreamy. They are they're very dark, but at the same time dreamy. You don't know where these lyrics and how, you don't know what Nick thought about when he made these things. When it comes to the sound of the different tracks, as I told you, some of them are more straightforward, like the last 3 tracks. But then there's also this one song that is called Anthrocene, which is mind-blowing. At the beginning of the song, there's a lot of noise. It almost reminds me of a 9 Inch Nails song because it's a repeating layer of drum tapping and a lot of noise going on in the background. It's It's very quickly mixed with some pianos and some roaring synthesizers. And the song is very driving and very dynamic. It has a very dynamic rhythm pattern that is going like that. And at the same time, there's this noise and there's melody phasing in and out and in and out, which I've never heard before. It made the song very, very original. It was something that I've never really heard before. And I had to pay extra attention when listening to this song because it just, I don't know, for some reason this Anthrocene song, this Anthracene track, it just drew me in. So listen to that one. Another one of my favorite songs is Rings of Saturn. It is kind of more melodic than many of the other songs. It starts with some short plucking of a synth that kind of goes on throughout the whole song. And again, I think this is the song where Nick is mixing between doing speaking and singing, which I found very creative. In general, I think this album was very, very, very good actually. For the time being, I would give this a 7 out of 10. Absolutely worthy to check out. Very dynamic record, very loaded with energy, with emotion, and I really like that. There's also some very creative tracks here, so check it out. Lee likes music, and he always will be liking music. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.